So what's up, Super Soul Warriors? It is part 2 of our 4-part healthy relationship series with our expert, my amazing mentor, my badass friend, Amy Guerrero. Again, I'm so grateful to have you here doing this with me and the most amazing audience on the whole internet right here. I'm sure you know that your audience is pretty awesome too, but you know, my audience is just beautiful soul warriors into their own healing, and I love them so much. Their support is amazing. So, Amy, tonight we are going to tackle something that I think a lot of folks in, even new sobriety and whatever place we are in recovery struggle with, and that is creating and holding healthy boundaries. And, sometimes I think when we don't really understand what that is, I'll speak personally for myself. I really felt like that boundaries had to be mean or crude. And you have taught me so much about creating healthy boundaries and all the things it does in my body and nervous system and mind and the confidence that it builds. So that's what I hope for us to talk about tonight, and that you would share your amazing expertise and badassery with this amazing audience. So if you all are here, thank you for being here. Please go ahead and share this video out. Not necessarily in promotion of my brand and what I'm doing, but in promotion of the information that's happening here, because we all struggle in recovery coming from trauma of many different types, and just there's things that we just don't know. And so we can all benefit from, healthy relationship advice, expertise, coaching, mentoring. And so I invite you to really, really do that and share it with someone maybe is struggling today, that needs to see sobriety and recovery in action, and that healing is possible in every way, shape, or form. If you like our regular content, then make sure to like the video. And if you really want to support our podcast, then leave us a review, a positive review on iTunes, and give us a few five whole stars there. That'll help us grow this platform. So, Amy, are you ready?
Absolutely.
I'm ready. Our folks are ready. So let's go. Amy Guerrero in the house with us here at Recovery Soul Food. Hey, Lisa Vargas. Hey, my amazing wife, Jessie Gregson. That's what I love. So you see what our work did? Our work is, there's just this whole new relationship happening between me and my wife. It's like 15 years goes by and you know each other as one way, and then we get sober, we start working on ourselves, and it's like we get to fall in love all over again, know a different person than we knew before. I mean, it's just amazing. I will always thank you so greatly for all the work that we did and all the ways you pushed me to really come out of my comfort zone and get past that nervous system. So let's talk about healthy boundaries.
Oh, goodness gracious. That just makes my heart like all explosive and feel so good. Yeah, I was reading her comments on your post last week, and I was just like, oh my goodness, it's so exciting.
Oh gosh.
And, I mean, just a presence that without really supporting your nervous system to feel safe, to start asking for what you need, and then to hold in your integrity in your body and be like, no, I'm not going to go back to that old way. Even though everything in you was shaken to go like, well, let me just do this. Let's just do that. Let's, I know that there was a lot going on at the time with children and with, just not that whole, just like not feeling good in the physical body. And you were holding so many different things and so many things were happening at work. And you were like clear, absolutely clear on what you wanted, Elsie.
Yeah.
And you had a really hard time voicing it, giving it like real words without going into that old pattern of, oh, it's okay. My needs don't really matter.
Yeah.
And that's what I really want to presence is that in order to actually hold our boundaries as human beings, we got to get super clear. We need support because our old patterning is going to just be like, fuck it. No, we don't need to worry about it. Let's just go back to the old way. It's easier. It's the path well traveled.
Yeah. We'll start tomorrow. We'll just do this one thing to keep the peace now, and then we'll start this all tomorrow.
Exactly. And I love that you just said that because that's the whole thing. It's like the feeling, the desire to keep the peace now overrides and feels more comfortable in the moment. So it takes the pressure out, just like a drink or a drug or sugar or sex or, social media. I mean, it's just another form of escapism to just calm what's happening in the nervous system now. If you can hang in the tension, if you can really befriend your nervous system and be like, I got you. And then those younger parts of you that you're supporting as well, because it's a lot of reparenting that's happening when we're setting boundaries, because you want the longer term reward of the healthy, more connected relationship that you currently have with Jesse. Like that's the whole damn thing. So y'all, if you're ever struggling with setting boundaries, like really presence what you want in the future, because what you want right now is that feeling to go away.
Yeah.
And in the future is a lifetime of freedom, of happiness, of joy, of peace, of love, of more intimacy, of better, communication, of all of the things, of more fun.
Yeah.
But in the moment, we're hijacked and like, make this go away, make this go away, make this stop. Oh my God, da, da, da. And then, like we talked about last week, all the patterns come up.
Yeah.
And the nervous system is in its response, and there's no access to the smarter parts of the brain to actually hold the boundary. So I just want to, like, it's so real, and it's not like it doesn't happen to me sometimes. It's still to this day where I'm just like, whoa, I'm like 10 years old right now. I can't think straight. I'm sweating, I'm shaking, and I just need a second to like really remember why I'm setting this boundary and then come back to it. Because in that moment when you're hijacked, oof, like you will go back to the old thing. But something I teach a lot of is repair. So if you do go back to your old pattern, you can repair from there. So that's a lot of information that we can kind of dissect and go into as we talk today. But I really feel like the most important thing to know here is like we are all human together, and we're gonna do this messy and afraid, and we're going to shake a little bit, and we're going to have a nervous system response, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's a very natural response to the physical body to it when you're expanding, when you're changing, to shake, to sweat, to feel like you're going to throw up, to feel like you can't talk, to get a lot of like mucus in your throat because it's closing up this part of your body where you're about to speak your truth, right? So you feel like you have to shit your pants. It's just like, it's all very real, and there's nothing wrong with you. You're not weird. You're not bad. You're not wrong. None of that. It's like, I'm human to be alive, to be alive.
I'm so grateful you said that, because I really have all day. Something caught my attention early this morning. Something I caught somewhere, and I listened to somebody talking about all that you just explained in some expansion they were going through. But unfortunately, a lot of times, and especially in new recovery, we experience that and we feel it as suffering, like, oh my God, I didn't make the right decision. Just like everything you're talking about, this all comes around. And so I'm glad that you said every bit of that, because I really want people to hear that craziness that you're feeling, and that all of that, all of that uncomfortableness, that's growth. And it's really okay. Like, this is where, it's okay to be there. You're safe to be there. Keep going. Because there's so much to experience on the other side of that in so many different areas. But as I was listening to someone talk this morning, I heard that in what she was saying. And of course, she went back to what was safe. She went back to the old pattern and then named the growth as bad. And I was thinking, man, and it's easy to do. And so, especially when we are, in our relationships and creating these healthy relationships and boundaries was a very tough area for me, just because of that, what you were talking about. And a lot of times that keeping the peace is a trauma response. We know that that was big in my early abusive childhood. So I did that a lot, and still catch myself doing it sometimes, because some mornings I think, oh, I just want to get out of here and go to work. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to set and hold this boundary, but I know that because of my relationship with my wife and what we have now, in those uncomfortable moments, I feel like if she and I can do this, I can do this with anyone in my life. And it's that is what is so amazing. So
yeah. So do you want to back up just a little bit and just give everyone some examples of boundaries that you've set, just so that we can give a definition? Because I think sometimes, I know sometimes people get confused about boundaries and what they are. And boundaries can feel very rigid, and like a steel wall is going up around you.
Yeah.
And that's actually not, well, that's a boundary. It's not necessarily the type of boundary that is going to be safe and feel good. Now, sometimes, yes, it needs to be like, absolutely not. You're done. We're done. We got to walk away. But there's still that emotional residue that can last years and years and years. I mean, I'm doing a lot of deep work right now for myself. And, I noticed something that I had to clean up from like 10 years ago with an old boundary that I just got to do some internal work with myself and my mentors. And I was just like, wow, I didn't realize that little bit of remnants was still getting in my way. So to presence this, can you just talk a little bit about the boundaries, so then I can give some context to the subtleties that happen in boundaries? Because, no is a complete sentence is.
Yeah, and absolutely, because and I'll use my relationship with my wife, because this is the one we've worked on so much. Is, my wife and I were in two different places in recovery. We went in together, but she was at a different place than I was, and so she had a relapse. And since I was real new in recovery, I was real prone to do a lot of enabling. But I was enabling and shaming at the same time, because I needed her to get on board with me. And, I didn't know how to carry everything. And so when I was doing a lot of carrying, this went on for about 2 years. And then when she came off the street and off the drugs, she didn't understand her own trauma and was feeling a lot of depression. And when she went to doctors that weren't qualified to really treat her, it was just medicate, and medicate. So she was so medicated at the time that she was asleep most of our life. And so it was like we lost someone we loved. It's like just watching someone that you love so much just little by little slip away from you every single day. And I used to, I tried everything that I knew how to bring her back, which, I hate to say, included shaming, included, anger, included begging, included sadness. But I was focused completely on me at that point and what I felt like I needed, but not in a healthy way. it was a hurry up and come back here. I don't know how to carry all this stuff. And I didn't really know how to be healthy within myself and speak what I needed. So I would go around it in all these other ways. And there were a lot of things that I was doing in that time to make her happy and or to pacify her and put my own needs and wants on the back burner, like we were talking about before. But the issue is I was resenting her greatly while putting my needs on hold. And it was this terrible pattern, of just resentment and anger going on between us. And I met you and we started doing a lot of work on me getting clear about what my needs were and how I needed to be able to speak that and how to learn how to say, no, and just really bring the work in on me. Because I think sometimes when we want someone else to change, it's so we don't have to change ourselves in some ways. And that's what a lot was happening is I wanted her to change because I felt like if she changed, I could be happy. And that wasn't the case at all. And so we went through a lot of my trauma and we started putting puzzle pieces together and learning how to speak to her and say, hey, this is what I need. And, I really am going to stand on this and I'm not going to compromise and I'm not going to, I really need this from you, but I'm going to take some time away from all this that I'm trying to give and give and give and give and give to work on me. And I need that space. And it was tough. I mean, I can sometimes still feel that ball in my throat of what it was like to say that to her and then go upstairs and do what I needed to do for me. But from that, Amy, from that, I released her. Like I released her to go through what she needed to go through to awaken to her beautiful self. It chokes me up to this day. Just watching what releasing her did in her own life and what it's done in our lives. And had I not done that work on me, we wouldn't be here.
Oh, see. Yeah, so good. This is just such a great conversation to start with. So I just want to presence a lot of words to the listeners and to the people that are watching right now. You said words like enable, carry everything, needed, shame, anger, resentment, bargaining. And I thought that if she was happy, then that would make me happy. So everyone, please, have you ever felt like you were forcing something? Have you ever felt like you were carrying everything? Have you ever felt like you needed someone to do something for you or they needed to do it for you? Have you ever felt shame or shamed someone? Have you ever felt so angry and then pushed it down so it led to resentment? Have you ever bargained, like, well, I'll do this if you do that? And then has it ever led to resentment? And have you ever thought like, well, when I get that thing or when they change or when that happens or when I have enough money, then I'll be happy? Like all of these emotions are like the most common human, painful, confusing emotions. And how are they related to boundaries? Like when we can be more clear. And I love what you said, Elsie, because you were like, it took me getting clear within. So it was setting the structure and the boundaries within so that you could go upstairs and shake a little bit and cry and, reach out like you often did to just be like, I don't know if this is going to work. And I'm like, keep going. You're going to be okay. Keep going. Right. So that you can heal these emotions that are so intoxicating. And, while you were sharing as well, something presenced in me that's so we don't talk about a whole lot when we're talking about boundaries, but the grief process, because all of these are the stages of grief as well. Yeah. So it was denial, right? And then anger and then bargaining. And you go through these. And what we don't realize, we're always grieving as a human. we're grieving what happened yesterday. We're grieving the sunshine yesterday when it's raining today. We're grieving what happened 5 minutes ago. We're grieving the band when they leave the stage and we're like, encore, encore. It's like we're in this constant grieving process. However, we don't spend a lot of time talking about it. And I really want to presence that as well. So all of these emotions are so natural. However, they don't feel good while they're happening in your body because they're clenchy and hard. And they create all this tension in your jaw, and your stomach feels sick, and your shoulders are up in your ears, and your shoulder blades, your wings are like, and you're just like, oh, and your ankle swells up, and your knees this, and like it's just your lower back hurts. So
everything.
So one of the major benefits of setting boundaries is to feel better in your body. And what you presenced over and over again is it took me starting with me. So that's like one of the number one things that I want to just start with. It's like, oh gosh, like I'm feeling anger. I feel like I'm carrying everything. I feel like I need them to do this. I'm feeling resentful. I'm feeling angry. Whoosh, hold on. What do you have control over?
That was it.
Right? And
that was it.
Well, like this is so good. I have a complimentary workshop next weekend, actually.
Awesome.
And it's presencing so much of this. Like we can spend so much time trying to control the future, the past, and what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what I do have some control over is my breath. And how can I set like a little container with my breath, which is a boundary?
Yep.
So it's subtle. Then how can I like presence myself into my body because I'm breathing now? Which automatically gives you more access to the smarter parts of your brain because you're now working with your vagus nerve and calming your nervous system. And we don't think about this. We get like all like, I got to set a boundary right now. And this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to just be, fuck you. How can I fucking do that? This is what I need. And if you fucking leave your socks on the fucking floor again, I'm going to fucking kick your ass. And da da da. That's my boundary. I'm leaving if you don't pick up your fucking socks. It really has nothing to do with the socks. You're totally dysregulated. And what you really want to say is, I feel disconnected from you.
Yeah.
And I miss you. And I love you. How can we come closer? The damn socks don't matter.
Right.
But we end up setting these like boundaries around like the weirdest things because we get activated.
Yeah.
And we make it about these things. And like, if you pick up your socks, we'll have better sex. Oh, like, I don't think so. It's kind of like focusing on the alcohol or the drugs instead of the underlying trauma.
Absolutely.
So, the getting really clear about what it is that's hurting inside of you is such the first place to go, because then like what intention you're bringing with the behavioral change that you're making with the like, oosh, you know what, that used to be okay, but now it's not.
Yeah.
Because that's so often what's so hard is that I went 37 years with things that were not okay with me, but I would drink through them. I would, drug through them. I would sugar sex through them. I would work through them, whatever, to numb them, to pretend as if they were okay. But then when I stepped into consciousness at this level, I was like, oh, no. This isn't okay with me. Yeah. Well, I don't understand. It was okay with you last time. Well, it's not okay with me anymore. And it never really was. I just didn't have the courage, confidence, structure to tell you to hold it and to maintain it. And it's going to be helpful for both of us in the long run. And I'm sure that there's things that, you'd like to say as well. And how do I create that safety for you to feel safe to do it as well? And, the coolest thing about mentoring and coaching is that, last week I was talking about, like, I'm the guide. I'm also the secure attachment.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that you did, even like in like the hardest of times. Like I take, clients yell at me, they hang up on me, they go dark on me, and I will not be moved. I'm there. I'm like, yeah, I can tell that you're angry, right? As long as they're not going to cause harm to me, I'm going to show you what it's like to have someone not go away, to let you act out and not go away. And that is so safe. That's something you can push against. That's a boundary. You get it? Like I was that thing for you and you're like, oh shit, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still not going anywhere. Oh, I disappeared for like a week and you're still there.
Yeah.
Didn't even want to talk about it. Just like got right back in it. And I'm like, yep, come on, let's do this. So it teaches you and it taught you that you were safe to push up against something, our container.
Yep.
And then it gave you more confidence to go, oh, I can create this container within me with Amy's support because I can push up against that. And then I can push up against something else. So holding the boundary is creating that thing where you're just like, I can push and I'm going to be safe. Again, like that, there's just nothing yummier. Like if you have a kid who has too much room to play, it can be dangerous sometimes. They need there's so many studies on this, right? When there's a fenced in area, then they feel safe. If it's all big and broad, they're going to throw a tantrum. They're going to be running towards their parents, all of the above. So, and the fence is permeable, right? But it feels safe. Just, you know, if any of y'all sleep at night with pillows around you, it's like, oh, yes. Like, you know, it's that coziness of, I've got some place that's going to stop me.
Yeah. Those basic human needs.
Yeah. And again, that gives the nervous system this place to relax into. It doesn't mean that it's still not difficult. It's not necessarily difficult. It's that you're literally regrooving your neural pathways, your body-mind connection. And so it's like, ugh. And that neural pathway connection, you know, it needs consistent aligned action to really become your new way. But it's the difficulty that you're feeling in the moment isn't going to last as long as it will if you allow the pattern to keep going. And that's what leads to, you know, in our country, it's 67% divorce, you know, and then during COVID, it's getting worse. And, you know, and a lot of this is that, like, the inability, not because it's anyone's fault, because we haven't taught this to hang in the tension, that it's safe to hang in the tension.
Yeah,
I'm so passionate about this that I want the whole world to know this information. Like, I'm going to like make this happen. It's just, I get like so teary. And your relationship, I just want to really just commend you deeply that your relationship is living, breathing proof of this real fucking time.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. Every single day it is, because staying in that place, because I think we, you know, when we're talking about this, the word that just keeps coming at me is vulnerability. Mm-hmm. We're so scared to be vulnerable. We're so, because it seems that we're taught more that vulnerability is not safe. And I get that a lot, but I think that I also want to live, and I had to create a world, my relationship, where it was safe for us to be vulnerable. And like you said, hang in that space that was good, because I think both my wife and I come from very abusive backgrounds. So we didn't ever really have little spat arguments. Everything was like the end of, you know, the relationship. And every fight to both of us brought up this big fear of this is the end. And it was almost like, instead of trying to save it, we would try to just keep going so we could just hurry up and cut it off and get the hurt. You know, let's go ahead and get in this hurt, because this is leaving anyway. Yeah. And now that we have worked inside of ourselves, and I mean, she has done some amazing work inside of herself that helps us come together and be more vulnerable, more flirtatious, more affectionate now that we've not ever been in the past. Mm-hmm. And in a whole different, closer way. Our affection now, yes, we've shown each other throughout these years, and even throughout those hard times. Because let me say this, Those hard times were greatly necessary in our relationship because both of our traumas were coming together to see if we were going to be that safe space for each other. And, we went through it. Neither one of us vacated or left the other. We stayed in, we committed to it, and we worked through it. Now, I know that's not for everybody's relationship because a lot of times we can get in very abusive relationships as trauma responses and different things. But for our relationship, we were able to do that. And that gave us a really great foundation to work from. Now we communicate in a way that is much safer. You can't say anything that's going to cause me to turn around and walk away. We're working on this thing together and individually. And we just have just an open, and it's not that it doesn't have issues. I mean, my wife basically woke up and has started doing all this work in herself this past year. So, we're both still, I'm this many years in, she's in her first year. We're still working through traumas, and our everyday life shows us where those responses are. But learning this information that you're talking about has been vital in helping us bring it back in and say, oh, okay, wait a second. So I'm responding to this, and, it's probably because I'm feeling this way, and I'm going to take a minute. Before it was hard for me to walk away. You remember, I would explode. Anger was my go-to, and I would sit and almost subconsciously push the situation until I could explode and then run away. Because that was the pattern. Explode, say what all I needed to say, and then run away and leave people that I love just sitting there hurting because I had just unleashed so much pent up, hadn't talked about it, no boundaries, resentment that I'm feeling. And those things create damage, and it's not, I always call them, bruises that are really hard to heal. And, our work together in this area of boundaries did a lot in not only my relationship with my wife, but my relationship with our son. And it has helped both of us create and hold a boundary with our son as well at this point where we're both together. We both love him. We're both clear on how much we love him. And we're also clear on we just want him to live a healthy, happy life. We work on taking our parentals. This is what, we want, what we think is best for you. And we've kind of come back from that. But we've also said, hey, look, we can't support some of these dangerous decisions. And we're going to keep working on us so that we can be a safe space. But we're not going to enable you by making this a trampoline so you can jump back and forth and back and forth. And, a lot of different things that would take too long to describe. But that is where when you do this work and you learn these things and you put them into practice in your life and you create that safe space, it bleeds out into every relationship. It's bled out into my familial relationships this year. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
And, it's worth it, y'all. It's worth it.
Yeah. So let's thank you so much for sharing. This is so good because I didn't know this is going to go like this. So it's working out perfect. So what you just described is that you and Jesse both came from pretty abusive, traumatic, and a lot of emotional trauma in your childhood. You saw a lot of explosive and then run away. And this is so freaking beautiful because what you're describing is, what I call it the conscious sober journey, which I took a little bit of the hero's journey and the heroine's journey, and I put this together for the work that I do with people. And you're describing that you have become the transitional character in your family because you learned how to do it the way that you did it for many years. Now you've learned a new way and you're having what I call a nervous system transformation. I mean, from something as simple as, and also can feel so hard, I want to presence that, of setting boundaries. that literally started to just change your nervous system on this level that your DNA is changing for your son, for Jesse, and then rippling out into every relationship you have, including things that with relationships that aren't with people, like money and food.
Oh, yes.
And, cigarettes and sugar and porn and TV and all these things, but you're just like, oh, wait, like I'm not getting that same dopamine hit because I know that it's safe to not have to drown myself in those dopamine hits. So you had a childhood, a lot of emotional trauma. Jesse, samesies. Y'all came together. That's what y'all did. You repeated that pattern. Now, this is the power of this beautiful play, this regrooving that we do together in sober relationship school and mentoring with me and all these different places. It's like, oh, wait, this stops with me. Now you got to shake a little bit with lots of love and lots of support and all the things so that you can have that nervous system transformation to, they say in 12-step, happy, joyous, and free, to actually not just say it, but feel it, embody what happy, joyous, and free actually is, which is so different than repeating the same slogans over and over again, right? Like, embody that and be the transitional character in your family by setting and holding the boundaries. And then you and Jesse started to relate to each other in a new way.
Yes.
Which then stopped your son from triangulating with you, or you called it the trampoline. Triangulation is like one of the number one things that causes boundaries to just disseminate and dissolve because, well, mom said this and dad said this. And so and now I'm going to pin y'all against each other and I'm going to go off and running and smoke pot and drink beer with my friends and get into everything else. That happens in families all over the place, right? However, what you're describing is how healthy, conscious, sober relationships will change the world. And it did start with you. And it did start with that, like, oh, Amy, I'm going to die if I do this. Okay, let's breathe. Let's do this. Let's practical tools. Like I'm so much about like, I want to teach you to fish for the rest of your life. My grandfather and my dad, they're fishermen. So I think that just really resonates with me so deeply. And it's so true. Like, I don't want to give people this high pie in the sky bullshit stuff that isn't going to actually transform your day-to-day, moment-to-moment life, because shit is real in the moment. And befriending your nervous system and learning to set boundaries and learning and then rewarding yourself when you do it and like really celebrating it, because that dopamine hit in your brain when you celebrate, like, oh my God, I said no. Oh goodness. I mean, little things like sometimes my clients will take something back to the grocery store that, wasn't the right thing, or, not argue, but like point out that the tab on the check is wrong. And that's stuff that they would have never done. They would have just eaten it and taken it and then resented it later. Those are small boundaries that they're setting. And they literally will call me, box for me, and be like, oh my God, I took something back to Target, or I said da da da. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, these little things. And I'm like, this is what I want to celebrate with you more, because those are all the little subtle boundaries that are literally respecting your internal space, that are setting you free, that are like, I can take up space. I deserve to get my needs met. That they charged me wrong. I'm going to say something. I'm not going to be polite, right? Like, oh gosh, one of the, what's been conditioned in us is like to set a boundary, to tell our truth is impolite. Yes. Because it upsets someone else. And that is just not true. It's old conditioning. That's bullshit. It's actually the most compassionate thing that you can do, because you're also, a boundary is teaching someone else how to treat you. And then it's showing them through the mirror of like, oh, that's not okay with me either. I don't want to do that. And again, it's creating that ripple effect. So we spend so much time trying to be polite, and it's like, that's actually discompassionate. Tell
To
the
the
truth.
point, well, and to the point that I believe that we spend so much time in that conditioning trying to be polite that now we start just trying to be with people that are really kind of just like us. I think that's brought so much of the separation between everyone, is because that's why we're in a place where we can't seem to have these conversations that disagree and still be comfortable with one another, because of that conditioning where we don't want to oppose. And so therefore we just don't be around people that maybe don't have these, because now we have so many options. I mean, we've got the internet, social media. I don't have to talk to you anymore. If we don't get along, I can go talk to 50 people in a group that, think just like me and talk just like me. And I think that that's
Okay,
the sad
can we
part.
just talk to that? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
such a good point. I love that you just brought that up, and it's so true. It's easier to break up with someone than to repair.
Yes, it is.
It's easier to make them wrong than to repair. And so,
Amen to that.
yeah, I mean, this because you've done it. And like one of the biggest and first things that I presence in everyone's work with me is like, I'm going to teach you that it's safe to repair, that we are going to rupture things, because to rupture is to grow, to expand. Things have to bust open so that there can be more of them. It's so natural to have a fight. And I consider it a rupture. It's like, whoops. Like I just totally lost my temper, lost my prefrontal cortex, and just said some things I did not mean to. How can I make it right with you? And we've learned that it's safer to fucking split or to ghost or to, just disappear or to avoid it. And so when you're healing your avoidant patterns and you're healing the years and years and years you went without setting boundaries, it is going to feel like a part of you is dying.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's kind of what's happening, that grieving process. I'll presence again. And something that I had just this yesterday, as a matter of fact, I presence with people is like, write it down. Like, tell me if this continues to go like this, what's going to happen? And like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, cool. I get it. Now tell me what you want to say to the person. And then I go as far as like supporting a little tweak and a rewrite. So then the person that I'm working with can get comfortable saying it. It's always in their words. But we go through the whole process. We dump it. We write what you really want to say, and then we rewrite it in a clear, concise, compassionate way. And then we're like, it's going to rupture, because people do not like it when you change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When you change the rules, when you change anything, people don't like it. It's totally natural. As humans, although rupture is what helps us grow, we're also like, but keep it the same. I want the same food every night. I want the same sex every day. I want the same way to that you talk to me. Always do it the same way. Go the same route to work. It's just comfortable. It's autonomic. And it's actually the nervous system taking the path of least resistance.
Yep. Yeah.
It doesn't need to expend. It's a way for us to survive. It doesn't have to expend as much energy if it keeps staying the same. In order for something to change, it takes more energy. It takes more brain power. It takes all kinds of just flat out energy.
Yep.
And so when we're doing this work, we have to be like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm like, sleep more, eat better. That's why I go back to the basics of what I teach is like, all of that foundation has to be solid, because it literally is exhausting to the nervous system, because it's changing and it's going to try to take that path of least resistance again, because it's having to expend more energy, and we're animals at the end of the day. And so we're not going to want to expend that energy. It's just our nervous system being smart, but so smart that it's protecting us and keeping us stuck in that same pattern.
So true. And what you said earlier is so true as well. Just in gaining the confidence in setting boundaries in different places in my life, it has bled over to my relationship with money, my relationship with my health, so many different places. And as each day goes by, that I put more energy into my health, and that I am just having different, mind and thought and heart relationships with finances and work. There is a peace that comes along with that. And you're so right. You present different without having to try to reinvent yourself. You just present different, because when you're doing inside work, it shows outside. And I again always will go back to you and thank you for all the work that we did, and thank you for all the times that you didn't let me give up, because I tried to run many times. I really did. And there was no hard lassoing and saying, no, you have to stay here. It was, I see you and I see that pattern, and I want to remind you that this is part of it, and that's the old disorganized pattern. And and you're free to come back here, and you're free, let's work on this.
Mm-hmm.
And had you not done that, that would have been yet another thing I left incomplete. Mm-hmm. And there were many times when I wanted to run, and I didn't understand why. And it's the teaching and the learning. That's why I want desperately to give the recovery community this type of information, because we're not getting it everywhere. And I believe that if you don't really realize all of this, you're just kind of a ship without a captain. And sometimes having the captain brings in the security, brings in the love, brings in the peace, lets you know how important you are. You're important enough to have your needs met. You're important enough to live a life that brings you happiness and joy and fulfillment, and crash the old limitations and thought patterns that say you've ruined your life and your addiction. Mm-hmm. You've done too much to come back for. That's not true. And I really just, from my heart, it's my work to bring this to people and remind them, stand up where you are, and wherever you are in your life, it's not too late to achieve that happiness that we, again, just say out our mouth, but we don't really know is true. So I know that you've got, you're always working, and I love that you were able to spend this time with us. We got like 2 minutes. So tell people where they can find you.
Okay.
I've left it in the description, but let people know what you're doing and where they can find you.
Absolutely. And I have to presence one more thing. I'm like, I'll be late for the next thing because this is so important. What you're describing is integration. And people so often ask me, like, what does that mean? What does integration mean, Amy? And what you just described, Elsie, is integration. You were like, I don't know. I was just like, everything just kind of came together. Yes. And then we kind of take it apart and put it back together again. And each time we're expanding, contracting. And, choose, heal, integrate, thrive. Like, that's the whole thing. And from start to finish, from your own personal experience. And it's such an honor to hear it in this concise way. So thank you so much for sharing it with me. I'm just like, oh, feeling all the feelings over here. That's the thing. And it doesn't mean that it's over. It doesn't mean like And it also doesn't mean that everything isn't perfect the way it is, or okay the way it is right now. We have this idea that we got to keep going. I have more work to do. And I got to do more. And I'm like, actually, everything's okay. How can we just be okay more? So good. Thank you. That I really am like super touched. I might cry after we get off of this because I'm just really blessed to hear. Look at your life, man.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
It's really awesome. Okay, so where to find me? At Thrive in Recovery with Amy. It's everything. My website, my social media, Instagram and Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, all the things. And I think this will be posted on Facebook. So I'm doing a complimentary workshop, and I'll send you the link for it next Saturday.
Okay,
at
good.
1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, to talk a lot about some of this stuff, and especially to presence that Valentine's Day is on Sunday, and it often brings up a lot of these feelings that we were talking about earlier. And I just want to hold some safe space for people. And there is going to be an offer and an invitation to Sober Relationship School after the end, or at the end of the workshop tomorrow.
Beautiful.
So it's a great opportunity, great entry point to come work with me in a group setting with amazing people and do the whole thing. So at Thrive in Recovery with Amy, and we'll be here next week.
Yes, we'll be here next week. We're gonna get into gaining confidence within, and we're gonna talk more about all of this great stuff. Amy, once again, just thank you so much. Thank you for giving us your time here tonight. I mean, it's just amazing. We'll keep stabbing at this until we change the world, Amy, because that's what we do.
Yes.
That's what we do.
Yes.
So, I guess you got to go. So I'll let you go. I got a few announcements to make so I don't hold you up.
Okay. Thank you.
So thank you. And we'll be in touch this week, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Thank
Bye
you,
now.
Amy,
Bye,
so
y'all.
much. All right, everybody. Wasn't that amazing? I love Amy. And if I can really say that one of the things that was so scary to me in the beginning about, reaching out for a mentor was, at the time that I did that, I did not really understand that it was okay to make an investment in myself. And it really, really did show me that I didn't feel worth it. I didn't feel important enough to make an investment in my healing, in my journey. And that was a scary situation for me. I ain't gonna lie to you. I wouldn't lie to you guys anyway. It's what makes my deal. I tell you the truth no matter what. And so it was very scary for me to do that. And I really understand where a lot of us are. And so, I want to help all of us really understand our worth as human beings in this world, in this moment, right now, where we're supposed to be, and help us really understand that our life means something. And to, yes, break a lot of old conditioning that surrounds a lot of us. And I really want to talk to the women right now, and not to say, not leaving you out, fellas. But for the women right now, there's so much old conditioning around being a woman and being feminine, and what it means to be a good woman, and what it means to be a good mother. And all of that comes down to sacrificing yourself. And to be a good mother or a good friend or a good woman means putting yourself and your needs aside. And I believe that our world will change when we begin to break those old barriers and limitations. There is so much expected of women in our culture, and yet they're not given the proper respect, the proper high fives and way to go for the actual badassery that a woman truly is. And so for the women out there, I see you. I love you, and I love that women are standing up and they're really taking their place in this world. There is so much that needs to change for us to live in a happy and peaceful, safe society. And this is what we're doing. This is the work, recovery community. This is the work. You're doing the work that is going to change this world for generations to come. And when you really, really understand that, it's not that you are in a haughty way being just like, I'm so special, I'm changing the world. We're not talking about that. That's old school thought. We're talking about, by changing me, I change the world. What kind of world do we want to live in? I'm tired. I'm tired of the labels. I'm tired of the judgments from everyone deflecting, not working on themselves. So they pick out and demonize all of these other people and make them wrong so they can feel right, so that they don't have to look at internally why they're so scared, why they don't want to see anything different, why they can't accept another human being as they are based on whatever reason they give it. And I believe so much in the recovery community because we have all been and done things and been places that inside of us we would not choose to do, but we had this trauma response, this coping mechanism that put us completely in that alligator brain that says, I need and I get, no matter by any means necessary. And we've had to do some things that have put us in a different consciousness that sometimes we still pay for today. Because don't think that you don't suffer with some post-traumatic stress disorders from being an active addiction. That stuff wears on the human consciousness. And we have been in these places. We've been in these trenches, and we should know better than anybody how to be accepting, how to be loving, and how to love each and every human being and celebrate the struggle that they've come from and how they are rising up to meet their life today, no matter what. That's what a warrior is to me. And that's why I call so many, all of you, warriors. Because you are surviving. You are learning how to thrive. You're hanging in there when it's not comfortable, and you're realizing that this is the work. And as you do the work, it changes your family line. And if we all do this and all of our family lines are changed, then maybe by the time my son's children grow up, they can be who they are internally, the human being that they are, just so unique. We bleed the same. Our hearts beat the same. Our livers work the same. I mean, how do we look at another human being and decide that either by the color of their skin or the way they present that we don't accept them and they're not okay? We can't do that. We can't. And we've got to stop. We've got to stop this. And if you don't believe and know that you are part of this creating a new world structured around love, structured around acceptance, and structured around unity, then there's still a lot of work. There's some work that needs to be done. And don't be afraid to do it, because you too are an amazing human being with gifts and purposes that were placed inside of you. You remember, you were once a seed, and in every seed grows a gift. They'll know us by our fruit. They will know us by our fruit. What's your fruit today? Is it judgment? Is your fruit diversity? What's your fruit? Don't be afraid to look at it. Prune your trees and learn to love. Whew. I don't know how I got here, but I did. I went there, and I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I love you guys. And the way I talk about how we should treat each other is the way that I treat all of you. And that's how I love you. I love you so much. And I just want all of us to do our inner healing so that we can make our mark on this world, on this generation, this world, and generations to come. And when we realize that we are responsible for generations, how do you know that you're not the one that was sent here to change your entire ancestral line? And you had to go through some things to do it. And you're still going through some things to do it. But you know, if that higher power, that creator, didn't know what a badass you were and didn't create you to be so strong to carry it, wouldn't let you go through it if the healing wasn't possible, and didn't know how strong you were to get it done, it wouldn't be given to you. So take that as a blessing. Uh-oh, my alarm went off. says, no. But take that as a blessing, man. Do your inner healing. Do your, get in touch with everything that you are, the divinity that you are. You are a miracle. While this whole time I've been talking, your heart's been beating, your kidneys have been functioning, your blood's pumping through your veins. You are alive, baby. And that is a miracle in itself. Start paying attention to the miracle that you are and let your life lead that way. I love you guys so much. I do want to say to Vonnie Max, I finally got the book in from Kareth Foster, so that will be going in the mail to you on Monday. I've created something very special for you that will be coming through. And Yvonne was the winner of our giveaway when we did our live kickoff of season 3 of the podcast. With Kareth Foster, and I'm so grateful that I got that here, and Yvonne won. Yvonne is just an amazing, just ride or die, beautiful warrior, been here with me from the get-go and supports me so much, and I love all of you. Rachel Dahmer, so good to see you. Bradley Bagwell, I love you just so much. You are an amazing human being. And okay, so my mouse isn't working. Looks like I'm completely frozen anyway. Guess it says no. Lisa Vargas, I love you. And Kristen, thank you so much for being here. Connie, Vonnie, and if there's anybody here I haven't seen, Tim Caps, Brian P. What's up, everybody? Anybody I haven't seen? Thank you for being here. Hey, listen, to support the podcast, remember you can go over to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating, and give us a positive review on iTunes. Make sure you like the video. It really helps get us in all the algorithms, because I want to bring this type of healing, the real deep down dirty stuff, to the entire world. That's what my mission is. And I love all of you for helping me in my mission and supporting me while I do this. Be your beautiful, happy, healthy, amazing self, and know that I love you. And you know what? I'll see you next Saturday night, 8 p.m. And don't miss Winning Wednesdays, live 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here and on the Recovery Soul Food YouTube channel. And I will see you all later. Have a great rest of your Saturday night. Bye. Love you. Maybe. Oh. You gotta love internet, man.